And turning the camera on. What's up, everybody? It is Andrew Esquire. You're the legal mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. Of course, coming to you from the beach studio here as I coordinate myself. I center myself. I'm really finding my center, guys, here in Thailand. Hope you guys are having a wonderful time. Of course, this is the legal mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. Today, we're going to talk about the Disney gender equity suit. I am so excited. I am absolutely so excited to be talking about all of these lovely and strong women who need to be paid equally by Disney because, of course, Disney is not treating them like the princesses that they indeed are. So good to see everybody in the chat here today. Appreciate all of you members in the chat and all you guys out there. You guys are fantastic. I appreciate you. And there have been a lot of you joining over the last month. So I just want to say I appreciate that, and I appreciate all of y'all out there as well. So yeah, just a quick shout out and some love for all of you guys. I guess some people were asking for the Discord link. If you're a new member, I'll get that out on the YouTube channel and the community post after this stream. So if you are a member of BLM, you're a BLM member, you'll see the Discord link pop up in the community note. So I'm going to put out a community note after the stream. So I know some people asked about it, so that'll get out for you there. But appreciate all of you guys there and everybody who is a member of the BLM. And thank you, Patrick Kennedy, absolute Chad, gifting 5 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you so much, Patrick, and thank you for all the help you've given for this channel, including kicking me in the ass when my ass needs to be kicked. And I deeply appreciate that. Always. Earlier, Patrick sent a super chat for 5, which says, agreed, locals degens need a place to chat. Button up. Well, I'm as buttoned up as it's going to get today, any higher, and we're going full weirdo. So yeah, we're fully buttoned up. Natasha earlier said 5 for $5. Says late, gay, and totally not live. Give us locals degens a chat to be noticed and turned on. Well, I'm not trying to turn you on, Natasha, but you do have a locals chat. It is indeed out there. The live chat is up, so you go and jump into that. Iprovlovsky says, I understand you're not trying to mix subjects, but quick question. Could Disney and RCID's law firm prove they built a Chinese wall to avoid a COI allegation? I love Chinese wall because actually I was involved when I was doing an internship in a giant civil litigation case over Chinese drywall in South Florida. If you know Chinese drywall, well, it's pretty much synonymous for complete crap because it doesn't actually work. It's complete garbage. It's actually harmful. So yeah, that was a huge issue with construction. So in terms of internal controls, essentially that they were just on paper separating themselves from RCID, but in reality, they were functioning as one and the same. Yeah, I think there's an actual case here, and that's why I said, Ike, that there is a strong case against Disney in terms of RICO, right? And when you go and look at, were they planning to do this? I actually have to read to you guys. So actually, let me pull this up right now. I got an email on RCID, and by the way, I'm happy to answer super chats today about Disney and RCID. Obviously, I've been covering that. I know some of you cannot make the morning streams. So if, let's say you have a question about RCID or about that case or about the criminal charges that will inevitably come, you guys can ask them here today. Do not feel like you have to wait till the next stream I do on that, which will probably be tomorrow or the next day when I'm going back and reviewing what I said, a year ago versus now, and how some of the things were validated. But you can ask questions on RCID anytime because that's a topic I am super comfortable with because that's my specialty area is special districts. So anytime you want to add anything on that, you can ask it. So appreciate that. So let me actually read this email. This is an email from a person who, let's say, I don't want to dox them. I'm trying not to dox them, okay? But I'm going to read this email, and this is an email from a person who was, let's say, very involved, right, with Disney. Let's say them and their wife were, I'm just saying, they were high up at Disney, so that's some influence. So let me read this for you. This person said they have something to add, right? So they sat at the Disney anniversary event. I won't say which one, and I won't say where. They were at an anniversary event for Disney, and I'll read it from there. The organizer placed my wife and I at an executives table for the event. So they were at a table with current Disney executives. We had at the head of our table the head of Imagineering and TWDC security. So you had literally security there that were the heads seated next to each other. Because of some personal friends, Bob Iger came to say hi to him and his wife. So others at my table had a false sense of security that we were insiders at Disney. During the event, two executives were talking to each other about what they knew about corporate plans, such as getting rid of the annual pass and getting rid of the annual pass moochers, right? Grad nights, etc. When the discussion mentioned RCID, when the executives were discussing Reedy Creek, they lowered their voices, but the guy was sitting right next to them so he could hear what they were saying. They knew what was wrong with the district's operation and wondered how this wasn't coming out. Let me read that one more time. The executives knew that what the district was doing, their operations were wrong, and they were shocked that this has not come to light yet. This is what somebody overheard with Disney executives, okay? It is absolutely nuts, absolutely nuts. And this person did end this email. I want to read the last part here. My belief is that RCID is only the tip of the iceberg. If Nelson Peltz is successful and he does a forensic audit of TWC, he's going to find a Pandora's box of corruption beyond the public's imagination. So just sit with that for a second, guys. Just sit with that for a second. That's just one of the many things I've gotten, like emails I've gotten, things I've gotten over the past, let's say, month or so, especially in the last 2 weeks. A lot of folks have emailed me. Some people have said they want to remain confidential. They don't want me to say anything, so I'm not reading it. But that one, I mean, it's shocking because it's crazy, but I'm also not surprised, right? It's just the sheer hubris of Disney does not surprise me anymore, but it should be appalling and disgusting, and it's certainly criminal. Certainly criminal. Bella Stella says Swati. Well, she says Swati Ka, but I would say back to her Swati Ka, right? Because I'm a dude. So yeah, what's up, Bella? Good morning and hello to you over there in the UAE from Thailand. Pilgrim Media says, is Disney free with a corrupt federal judge, Depp? No. We talked about this with Mexican Iron Man yesterday, and we're pretty convinced that the thing is about corruption is you have to understand that corruption isn't just in favor of the Democratic Party. It's not just, okay, we're going to back anybody who's a Democrat. You have to also understand within departments, there are people that are greedy for advancement. They want to move up. And there's no way better to move up the chain than to be on a big name case. So if you're at the FBI, the SEC, the IRS, you want to have on your resume that you were the one that prosecuted Disney. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine if on your resume, you're like, I did the forensic audit of Disney. I was the one. It's like being on the case of Enron, right? Everybody knows that case. So if you're on that case, you're saying, oh yeah, I was investigating Enron. People know that case. People know how bad it was. So I think the move here is going to be, it's going to go to the IRS, SEC, and somebody's going to make this their pet project to go in there and bust them up. And listen, Bob Iger is not on the ins with the Democrats. He's not that friendly. This isn't Hunter Biden and Hunter Biden's laptop. He's not necessarily a party insider. These people are jackals. They will turn on each other. They have absolutely no loyalty. I just do not think that there's a way that all of these agencies back off of him. Now, I don't think it's possible. Natasha says, wow, the rat might be tinkering with my internet since they are right there, so California. And the internet keeps glitching anytime you talk about the rat. I wonder why. That's like the other day when I was on Bangkok Bros, my good friend Ben Ben Bancroft Bros and Integrity Legal. Ben and I were talking about Alex Jones. And as soon as we talked about Alex Jones, the internet started acting up. Really weird how that happened, how our YouTube connection was being messed with the second we talked about Alex Jones. Really odd, right? Very strange. But I'm good to see that, look, we are winning in the war of freedom of speech, and we are getting some W's here. So I'm going to celebrate that. I'm going to be positive about that. It's not perfect yet. Hashtag free Camelot, Camelot needs to still get out of Twitter jail. But, it's going in the right direction. And the right direction is where we want to head. So congrats to AJ on that. All right. Got some Rumble rants, and then we're going to jump into this gender equity suit because we all want equity, guys. $2. Billdozer74 says, obligatory, it's over 9,000. Yes, there are over 9,000 or at least 9,000 women that are suing Disney over gender pay gap, claiming there's a gender pay gap. JD Corey 2012 says, sorry, but these women will be put in the back of the line. States could start to sue Disney for defrauding their pension funds. Government gets money first. Oh, absolutely. I don't make any assertion that the women will be the first ones to claim. However, Disney might be able to settle with them. And I think we'll talk about the case. Most times when people sue for gender issues or sexual issues or whatever else, all they want is a settlement payout. So all they're looking is for a free check, just like they look from the government, right? So these type of people are used to the money from the government. They're used to money from other handouts and bailouts and welfare. So they're just looking for another form of welfare and form of corporate welfare to themselves. And that's 9 out of 10 of these cases. Now, it couldn't happen to a better organization. It couldn't happen to a better one than Disney. And particularly this case comes at a time when Disney is buried in litigation. That is what I really want to focus on here. This is not coming at a time when Disney has no cases. This is not the only case against Disney. If this was the only case against Disney, well, they would be scot-free. But as I've said, there is an avalanche of litigation coming for Disney because when the sharks smell blood in the water, they are going to sue. And now is the time for a sue in Disney. And this case going forward is perfect timing. Now, to be very clear, this gender equity suit, this was filed in 2019, but this is a class action suit. So they had to certify the class. They had to go ahead and collect all the individuals, make sure they had everybody who's similarly situated. And now they've got 9,000 women. So let's read an article before I get into the actual lawsuit itself. So I just want to go through an article summarizing what's going on before we get into the actual lawsuit itself. But as I'm doing this, guys, and as we're going through this, make sure you smash the like button, like this video, because if you guys really like this content, if you appreciate this content, liking the video is the best way to get it out there to everybody else, to share it with the algorithm, because we are not supported. The Disney haters out there, or rather the Disney pixie dusters, they're trying to sabotage us. They're trying to keep us down. YouTube does not like it when you go anti-rat. So make sure you're sharing it out. You're liking the video. Appreciate that. All right. Without further ado, we've got here a judge allowing 9,000 women to sue Disney for gender pay disparity. We'll get into the complaint itself that was filed in 2019. We're going to get into that. But this is now the certification of the class. So the class is now certified. So a judge certified a class action lawsuit that alleges Disney paid 9,000 women less than their male counterparts. It is the largest ever suit under California's Equal Pay Act. One more time. It is the largest lawsuit under California's Equal Pay Act. How do you like that, Disney? Setting the record for equal pay discrimination lawsuits, which makes it illegal for workers to be paid less for substantially similar work based on their gender. Now, okay, we're going to have a little bit of an interesting time today because, of course, I'm going to be honest with you about these laws. These laws are, in general, as a law, mostly BS, okay? So these laws, I don't agree with their structuring. I don't agree with how they're allowed to proceed. And I particularly don't agree with how California allows these lawsuits, because it's very it's stifling to business, and they allow what is called not proof, right? So not proof of discrimination, right? They don't need discriminatory impact or even discriminatory intent. All they need is what's called disparate impact. Disparate impact. So if they can find a tiny statistical difference between men and women, that is enough for them to proceed on these lawsuits. All they need to find is a minute of this difference, and they can proceed against companies. I think this is why California is doomed, right? Because they allow lawsuits like this to go forward. But because California has allowed these lawsuits against conservative companies, against moderate companies, against all sorts of companies, family businesses, everybody, then absolutely I'm agreeing we need to protect our women and sue Disney. I'm not coming out here to defend Disney from a law that its own politics helped get passed. Disney's own politics passes laws like the Equal Pay Act, right? The California Equal Pay Act that allows spurious lawsuits it's nothing about equal pay, because the key word here, guys, pay attention here, is substantially similar work. It's not similar work. Understand, the legal standard is not the same work. It's substantially similar. This is the problem. Substantially similar to one person is not the same to another. And that difference for substantially similar can be more than the difference in the pay gap. For example, let's say you have two separate people and they're classified in the same job category. Let's say they're classified under restaurant services. And under restaurant services, you have the chef and the sous chef. Well, the chef is doing more than the sous chef. The sous chef is just preparing. They're literally just putting garnish on the plate. The chef is cooking. The chef is directing. The chef is managing. And so the chef is paid more. Well, the chef happens to be a guy, right? There happens to be more male chefs than female, and the females tend to be more sous chefs. Right now, there are some female chefs. There are some male sous chefs, but there happen to be more male chefs than sous chefs. Well, they put them in the same category. The chefs end up working longer hours. They look at that and they say, oh, look, they're both under the title of restaurant services. Therefore, you're being discriminatory because the chefs, which are mostly male, get paid a little bit more than the sous chef. That's all BS. You know, it's a different job, different requirements, different hours, maybe even different pressures. But that's not how the lawsuits work in California. That's a completely legitimate lawsuit. You can bring that because you happen to put them under the same job category or job family. Not even the same exact job, but in a job family, yeah, you can sue for that. So that's how broad we have it in California. It's absolutely ridiculous. I like that. Sous chefs, more like sus chefs. Yeah, and shouldn't you look at how hard the individual chef works? What if one chef is doing overtime? Does he not deserve maybe a higher base salary because he's working his ass off? Maybe he's got more merit. Maybe he has more free time. Maybe the chef that has less free time, and maybe there's a chef that has to be at home or has to do something else or whatever, or has two jobs, and the chef that's not at their work or not doing a good job happens to be female, and the chef that's working hard and doing overtime happens to be male. Why are you not allowed to pay the man more money for working harder? It doesn't make any sense. And the thing is, most of these studies don't control for that. They lack, along the bases, if you look at these jobs, several levels of controls. So that's the problem with gender pay gap, is they are never truly looking at the same thing. They only often look at job title, right? So they'll look at the job title without looking at any sort of objective performance criteria. Ted Park says, share this out to your pink-haired relatives so you can see what a woke apoplexy looks like. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But today, look, today the woke may be happy because we're supporting women today. We're supporting women. I am supporting these women against Disney. Matrix says, To have 9K, it seems like they'd have to solicit massively. Well, they took 2 years, or actually more than that even, to certify the class. How do you think they did that? All companies I work for have a policy on just organizing just about anything. If they lose, they could be sued for retaliatory firing, right? So if they are fired for participating in a gender pay gap lawsuit, that's called a retaliatory firing, and they can absolutely be sued. In addition, on top of that, including penalties from the state of California for firing people for joining a lawsuit. So they actually cannot fire them for joining the lawsuit. They can fire them for other reasons. They can make their life miserable, but they can't fire them for joining the lawsuit. Henry K says male and female sports, like soccer players. Oh yeah, soccer players, which voluntarily bent the knee to the women, despite the fact that objectively that entire lawsuit was BS. Shout out to Nate the lawyer. I know he covered that one like crazy. We disagree on a lot of things, but I agree with Nate on women's soccer. And yeah, that was a complete BS case. The women do not, like, in terms of revenue, they bring in nothing for the American Soccer Federation compared to the men. If you even look at what they bring in terms of merchandise, sales, revenues, it's not even close. Sorry, women. It's absolutely a joke. Lost in the Law says, curious enough, there's no data on how many times one gender is late for work or has a complete mental breakdown, stopping the workplace dead. Yeah, they don't include that, do they? They don't include that. They don't include, oh yeah, so this woman was tardy every single day. She came in 30 minutes late. This guy was staying 30 minutes longer to cover for her ass. So we paid him more. Yeah, that's not covered. It's weird how that's not covered. It's a really weird, Tim, right? And shout out to Tim, Lost in the Law, starting his new channel out there, a Canuck law student, aspiring lawyer, and much love for my boy, Tim. So thank you for that super chat, Tim. You are an absolute chat. All right. So let's get back to the rest of this article here. So you've got the 9,000 women, right? And you've got the plaintiff's attorney that says Disney has been gaslighting these women for years. They love their jobs. They love their band. They just want to be respected and treated the way they should in the workplace. Okay. All right, Lori. Listen, I'm just going to be serious. Like, let's just be clear. Like, the difference is very small, very, very, very small percentage here. So I don't know if gaslighting is the right word here. I love how we overuse words, like toxic. It's a toxic, and everything is toxic. Everything is gaslighting. Everything is all of these horrible, horrible things. We need to calm down. People need to calm down with overusing these kind of words. We are disappointed with the court's rule. Disney stated, this is Disney, says we are disappointed with the court's ruling as to the Equal Pay Act claims and are considering our options. So the judge, Elihu Burrell, rejected Disney's argument so that the case will be so sprawling as to be unmanageable. Disney's attorney Felicia, bye Felicia, had to get that out there. Had to get the bye Felicia out there. Argued that plaintiffs are seeking to compare salaries across thousands of job groups, which reflect a decentralized decisions of thousands of managers. So here's the thing about California. They allow these types of ridiculous lawsuits to proceed. So I am supporting these women against Disney because Disney has supported these laws against all other companies. So guess what, Disney? You reap what you sow, okay? These classes include female Disney employees who have worked for the company in California since 2015 in a non-union position below the level of vice president, who have been assigned to a job family or level. It covers employees from Disney hotels, theme parks, cruise lines, film, TV studios, ABC, Marvel, Lucasfilm, KK. Get in there, KK. Get your money, KK. Well, she's above vice president. She's above vice president. She doesn't qualify. But get in there, everybody who works for KK. Lucasfilm and other units. Does not include Pixar, ESPN, Hulu, Fox, or FX. Disney argued that just because two employees are in the same job family or level does not mean their work is substantially similar. She rattled off a long list of job titles: music producers, pastry chefs, nurses, architects, ride engineers, VFX directors, security dog handlers, Star Wars social media managers. What the hell? You're paying people to manage the Star Wars social media? Listen, give Drunk 3PO a six-pack and he will manage it for better than you guys will manage Star Wars social media. Can you believe they're paying people for this? They are paying people to manage the Star Wars social media. By the way, shout out to the 199. I see you guys in the chat. Appreciate y'all and appreciate the love. Also appreciate the $4 super sticker from Leprechaun Gold. Of course, it is a Shiba. I always appreciate your Shibas. They are absolutely adorable and appreciate you, Leprechaun Gold. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I cannot believe they're paying people to manage their social media. It is absolutely disgusting. Okay, so all of those people were put together as the same lawsuit. So I normally would say, wow, that's ridiculous. But guess what? It's Disney. So go mouse yourself, okay? There are different segments, different business areas, and different locations. They report to different managers. They're in completely different industries which pay completely differently. Davis argued that Disney will have to put on a massively complex defense at trial in order to show any disparities were the result of allowable factors such as education, training, and experience. This is what I don't like, right? So in California, in California, the only three things you can consider are education, training, and experience. Okay? Let me say that one more time. The only thing you can consider is education, training, and experience. That's it. That's all. Okay? So that's all you get to look for. To me, education, training, and experience do not include any sort of metric for objective evaluation of the actual work performance of the employee. So an employee that's there for 10 years can be lazy for 10 years. They can have all the training in the world and they can be sleeping at their desk. But they're sitting right next to somebody who is working hard, right? Who's actually doing their work. And like Ted Park says, for $2, performance doesn't matter. Where in the California criteria can you look at performance? I'll wait. Oh, nowhere. Nowhere. It's absolutely ridiculous. And this is why California, when I say California is not a place for businesses to operate, I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm being dead serious. I mean, this is what I teach business law. I'm sad my last business law class will be tomorrow, and then we'll have our final exam. And then next semester, I'll probably teach property law again. So, but business law, in business areas, this is why I say don't go to California if you're looking to start a business, because these sorts of rules that don't care about the performance of an employee, you cannot operate under that. How can you reward anybody for hard work? You can't. You literally can't. Lost in the Law says, you're telling me that vlogging about your day in the office, tanning salon, browsing Facebook and TikTok is not productive? No, you don't get to get paid for that. You don't get to get paid for going live and showing how cool your workplace is or going live from the theme park. That's not what you should be getting paid for. So yeah, rule 101, don't go to California. Don't go to California. It's easy. It's an easy rule. Okay, to finish this off here, I know it's going to be horrendous. You're telling me Disney has no system of categorizing pay levels. That's what the judge said. So both sides have retained experts to prove or disprove. Andres, so the plaintiff, says the starting pay gap across the class is 2% lower for women than men. Guys, this is a lawsuit. This lawsuit is over 2%. Let me show you this right now. This is 2%. 2% gap. So all of these women, and they can find a 2% gap. That's all they got. Well, it sounds like rampant discrimination for me, right? Wow, 2%. Yeah, someone said it in the chat. 2% is likely within the error of calculation, the error range, right? Like we're talking about margin of error. 2%? Are you kidding me? Get out of here. Get out of here. But it's Disney. So you know what? These women are owed that 2%. Okay. Give these strong women their 2%. Okay. How dare you disrespect them? That 2%. Nicholas said a posted pay policy that shows pay ranges for different months of gross hours worked. So when someone complains about not getting the same pay, you can point to the policy. Same 5 years doesn't equal the same hours worked. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Nick. You need to have these policies in place, and this is absolutely vital, Nick. You're absolutely right there. You need to have these policies in place to be able to point to them and say, no, we're paying based on how much you work. You're not working, right? You're not working that much. Nick, have you done labor stuff? Have you done HR? Have you done labor law? That's actually really, really clever. And I feel like you've got some inside baseball experience there with that, Nick. So shout out to you. I was in-house counsel for a while. That sounds like you might have been in-house counsel for a while. That's some smart business stuff there. All right. So last but not least here on the article, before we get into the lawsuit itself, which is hilarious. It says that Burles held that Disney managers were allowed until 2017 to use pay history as a factor, but not required to do so. And therefore, there was no company-wide policy to change. Disney declined to comment outside court, referring questions to Disney. A status conference is February 9th. The trial is expected to be held in October. So stand by for the 2024 trial. So this will go on trial in 2024 against Disney. So stand by for that. Stand by for that trial. Now we're going to go to the actual complaint because I want to show you the actual background to this, the actual background of this lawsuit. So here's the lawsuit. It was filed by Lori Andrus. It's the exact same one filed in San Francisco. Guys, San Francisco. Can you imagine that they would file in San Francisco when they're trying to get a gender discrimination case proven, right? So shocking that they would file in San Francisco. Now, as you can see, this was filed in 2019. So it took 2 years for them to certify this class. It took 2 years for them to get this done. It is on behalf of LaRonda Rasmussen and Karen. LaRonda and Karen suing. RIP. When you've got LaRonda and Karen, you know it's going to be a good time. Versus the Walt Disney Company, Walt Disney Pictures, Hollywood Records, and Does 1 through 10. So these are their shell entities. When it comes to paying women fairly, the Walt Disney Company, it just passed, its 100th year, is woefully behind the times. Put simply, Disney refuses to pay its women employees equal to men doing the same work. In many instances, Disney is paying women workers tens of thousands of dollars less than their male counterparts. The plaintiffs, LaRonda Rasmussen and Karen Moore, both longtime and valuable Disney employees. I have value. Okay, sorry. Brings this lawsuit. I'm supporting these strong women. I'm supporting them. Brings this lawsuit to address the rampant gender pay discrimination at Disney. Because their pay practices negatively affect their female coworkers, they bring this case as a class action. Okay? They're the world's largest media company. They own all these other studios. Okay? They have all these business segments are generating thousands of different segments generating billions in revenue. They employ many thousands of people, including thousands of women who work at Walt Disney. Over 11 years that Miss Rasmussen has worked for Disney, she has come to understand that Disney routinely underpays its female employees and passes them over for promotion, piles on extra work without additional compensation and does not supply sufficient support staff to women employees. Why do they need extra support staff? Okay, whatever. No, they need it. They all need it. Women need an entire support team of men to slave for them. Every woman needs at least 10 men to slave for them in the workplace. But the men have to be paid 1/10 of the women to, equal out. Like it's all got to equal out there. Speaking of equaling out, let's get this real quick Rumble rant, because I appreciate that, from Occupant 42. Shout out to Occupant, who dropped 20, saying, I wonder if this is going to be the same as the BBC gender pay gap case. The investigation found that men were actually underpaid relative to their comparative female worker. Occupant, you are spot on. Anytime that they actually look at the evidence, in these cases, gender pay gap, if you're looking at it from an objective standpoint and they get an independent audit, a truly independent audit, not a partisan audit, not something that's biased, an independent audit will always bring back, if it's looking at performance, it's looking at what they're doing, the hours they're working, it will always bring back that men are actually underpaid in the West. So this is something that happened at Microsoft, it happened at Oracle, it happened at several other companies where the second they do it, they get screwed. That's why they don't do actual gender pay studies. The only people that do them are partisans, and they will look at things like, for example, education. Women are highly educated. Women, in fact, have higher degrees. That's why a lot of the graduating women have higher degrees than the men. Guess what? Those degrees don't equal actual job experience or talent. A woman can come out with a master's degree. And by the way, not all women, right? I know people give me this flack. Not all women. There's brilliant women. I know women that are far smarter than me, okay? There are women out there that are absolute geniuses. But on average, statistically, when these studies are done, they tend to find that most men are underpaid, okay? Now, some women are underpaid. Some men are underpaid, but it tends to be that more often than not in Western companies that men are underpaid. Just the way it is nowadays if they actually do the study, if they actually look at the facts. And that's why they don't do real studies anymore. That's why the studies are always focusing on education, because women tend to have higher degrees. So if they focus on that, they could say, oh, well, she's got a master's degree. It doesn't matter if she's sleeping at her desk. She has a master's degree. And because she has a master's degree and you only have a bachelor's or an associate's, or maybe you just have a high school diploma, well, there's no way you can be working harder than her. It's a form of elitism, by the way. And I am very much against elitism. I'm very much against credentialism. Anybody who says, because I am X, I am better than you. Yeah, that's not really a thing. Now, it is true that, for example, if you're a specialist like a doctor, and even like lawyers, we can think in a certain way. A doctor knows about the medicine. Lawyers know about the law. They tend to know better about the law than the average Joe. A doctor tends to know better about the body than the average Joe. Does that mean they're a specialist? Well, maybe not in that specific area, but they tend to know better. But just because you have a generic college degree, particularly something like a master's degree in a general subject, that doesn't mean anything nowadays in terms of actual work performance. So I just want to make sure I said that. Is This Live says 2% sounds like the difference caused between not having babies versus having babies and the disparities that ensue due to needing time off. Is This Live? This is a point which they will say that's discriminatory. We should be treated equally even though we take time off, because it's not fair that we have to have the babies and you don't, right? We should be paid for not working while you're working. And look, I'm all for, if you're married to somebody and you're in a relationship, I'm all for, in the relationship, you should support your wife, going through pregnancy. I think that's the right thing to do from a moral standpoint, But that being said, does your company have a duty to go above and beyond to support you? Like, go above and beyond to support you when you're not producing anything for them? Well, no, it doesn't make sense, right? Now, they shouldn't fire you for it. I agree with that. But do they have the obligation to pay you for it when they're not receiving anything? That's not sustainable for companies, right? But that's one of the issues with these pay gap studies, is they just don't take that into account. And yeah, that can amount for more than 2%. In fact, if you look at this and you less out those factors, it probably results like Occupant said on Rumble, when you take out these factors, you may even find that actually men are underpaid by 5, 10, 20% when you really critically look at this. Derna says, if the legal standard is that a worker must have with a bachelor's degree must be worth less than one with a master's, regardless of how much money they generate, how is that credential not a title of nobility? That's what I'm saying. Derna, this is what I am saying, and I am very much against that. Look, I love my British fellows. I love my monarchs and all the people who live in monarchies. Hell, I'm living in a monarchy right now. There's a time and a place for title of nobility, but guess what? The place is not in the workplace, and for determining what your value is in the workplace. Your value in the workplace as an American, right? We fought a revolution over this, guys. As an American, I believe in the American workplace, we should 100% only look at their performance objectively. That's the only way to measure true merit in the workplace. To look at someone's title, their literal title, instead of their productivity, is essentially establishing a nobility. It's establishing a higher class, an upper class and a lower class, where you've got to, because of their title, grant them higher pay. It's nuts, and the American economy can't sustain this. This is not sustainable in the American economy. This attitude, this structure is not something that can last. We've been able to subsidize it for a very long time, but it's not something that we can keep going. Thank you, Leprechaun, for the $10 super sticker. Appreciate you very, very much for the super blob sticker. Thank you. Pappy G says, what about the other genders pay gap? Well, that's going to be a whole separate issue. How do you even evaluate that? Do you even know those men that you say are men are men? Aren't you discriminating against them? What if they're actually not considered men? What if those men consider themselves women or consider themselves its or theys or Apache helicopters? What about those people? Are you not discriminating against them? Got to think about that. Incoherent Turd says, at my company, women and men make exactly the same salary in each role. The only difference comes to overtime or not, and women tend not to work overtime. Incoherent Turd, a lot of these studies never look at overtime. That's another dirty little secret of pay gap studies, is they do not look at overtime. They just look at raw earnings, and they're like, wow, men in their raw earnings and what they report to the tax authorities, they make more. Yeah, no shit, they worked overtime. Okay, so obviously someone who works overtime should be paid more than somebody who doesn't. We're getting into a literal communist dystopia when it's like, oh yeah, the workers that works overtime gets paid the same. All people paid the same. This is nuts, and this is why, look, California is not far off. It's very much on the mark when we drop that, because overtime is critical. It's actual work. You're asking people to work and not get paid. If you're paying an employee who works overtime the same amount as somebody who doesn't work overtime, number one, that's illegal. You're creating a conflict of laws because there's separate laws that say you have to pay them for overtime, right? But you're creating a conflict between the gender pay stuff and the overtime stuff. So what are you going to do here? You got to resolve this conflict. It's quite frustrating, to say the least. So that was the article. So let's get back to the actual, this actual thing. Thank you so much, everybody, for the chats. Appreciate you. And all 573 of you, please smash that like button if you like me busting up Disney by going over these lawsuits. So they're seeking relief. So LaRonda is a biracial woman. It's very important that she's biracial and a woman. Very important. Karen is actually a woman of color. She's actually not a white woman, or maybe she is. She just thinks she's got some color. I don't know. She resides in Sherman Oaks. They work for Disney in Burbank and Glendale. Are you surprised that California employees are the ones suing? This is not happening in Florida. I wonder why. So they're suing all the Disney entities. They have jurisdiction because they're in California. They're headquartered in California. See, this is what you get for being headquartered in California. You open yourself up to all this litigation. So let's talk about LaRonda. LaRonda has a bachelor's from California State University, Northridge. Oh, she went to Northridge. Great. Great. It's like a big community college there, but okay. After graduating, she worked for NBC. Then she was hired as a senior financial analyst. Her starting salary is $70K. She worked extremely hard. She works on weekends, delivers what is required, and is dedicated to the mission. She enjoys her job and considers herself a true player. She routinely receives positive performance reviews. Okay, guys, this is why you have to give negative performance reviews and not give glowing, like just ace people on their performance reviews. Because if you are not stating people's negatives and you're not promoting them, they're going to include this in a lawsuit against you. So if you're ranking people A, B, C, D, F, and you're always giving them an A, but you're never promoting them, you're never giving them a bonus, you're never doing anything else, but you're always giving them an A, that's going to be entered into evidence against you. So you have to be like, okay, if they're a C employee, give them a C, right? And I know it hurts their fees. I know people don't like to do that because of esprit de corps and all that other stuff. But for legal purposes, if you're doing performance reviews, you have to knock it off. At least give them a B. So you're like, all right, they're not perfect, right? They're like a little bit better than average, but they're not perfect. You can't just go ahead and give people A++ because then it's going to be entered into evidence in a case when they are unhappy or when you fire them. So she has a clear devotion to her employer, but they're discriminating on account of her gender, paying her far less than her male counterparts. Okay, so she raised the issue of unfair pay. She believed she was earning less than men performing the same job. How would she know about that? She asked for a desk audit to determine whether her job responsibilities were aligned with her title. Her pay was $109,000. So they claim that 6 men holding the same title, manager of product development, had a higher base salary. The lowest paid male received $16K more. The highest paid male was paid $4,000 more than her. Compared to the average salary of male managers, shortchanged more than $26,000. Our most recently hired male manager with less experience was paid $20,000 more. Nothing they're saying here, and I'm supporting, once again, I support LaRonda against Disney, but mind you, they're not going into her performance. They're not talking about their hours. They're not talking about their job responsibilities. They're just saying that the title was the same. See, do you see this, guys? What are they focused on? What are they focused on? The title. Now, I'm supporting the strong women against Disney. Don't get me wrong. But the only thing in these lawsuits, because we're going to do other pay gap lawsuits. This is not the only one I will cover. But what are they focused on? Titles, like titles of nobility. They're focused on just title. That's all. There's no merit in this. Where are we talking about merit? Nowhere. So this claim they're paid more, just everybody's paid more. It's not fair. So Disney said her pay was not due to gender. The difference is not due to gender. And they raised her salary. Look at this. They raised her salary. So they said she complained that her salary was not high enough. They raised her salary and she still sued. This is why, look, I'll tell you guys, for your business, for you guys and your businesses, this is why if you got to be very careful with who you hire. Let me just put it that way. If it's somebody that seems like they're going to get involved in a pay lawsuit against you, or if you look in their history, they've got a long history of suing their employers, maybe they're not the best candidate for the position. Maybe they're not the best candidate for the position. I'm just saying. Just throwing that out there. People say, can you contract out all of the company for your companies to work? Yes, you can. There's nothing stopping you. Popcorn power. There's nothing stopping you from 1099ing pretty much everybody. I know, I understand large corporations do need employees. There's a point at which you have to scale them employees, but you can contract out a lot of your work. In fact, for example, with legal departments, most companies, they contract out their legal work. They don't have actual lawyers working there. Maybe they have one general counsel who's like a quarterback. But other than that, they don't have really lawyers working for the firm. They farm everything out. They farm all the legal work out to other law firms. So yeah, you can 1099 everybody. And I would say 1099 as many people as you can. In America, in modern day America, if you can 1099 and you can get away with it, do it. I mean, there's no reason not to. Why would you not? What do you lose by that? If you're running a small business, if you're running a medium-sized business, it makes it very clear in the relationship with an independent contractor is the contractor is responsible for their benefits. They're responsible for their job environment. They're responsible for all that. So you're not on the hook for all this discrimination BS. Keep it independent. Industrious Bear says, must be nice to afford living in Burbank and Glendale while underpaid. I wish I earned that much. Yeah, she's complaining about making $135,000, right? Sorry, excuse me. I'm wrong there. $138,000. Let's zoom in here. 138, and she's complaining. Okay. So obviously she's being discriminated against because she's making $138,000. So because she still earns slightly less than the people that she had the same title as, right? So the managers, once again, she's not saying what the actual job duties of the managers are. And then she's comparing herself to a senior manager. Well, she's not a senior manager. Her title is not senior manager, right? Her title is manager. So why is she comparing herself to senior manager? Now she's saying, okay, I'm paid less than a senior manager. So not even the same job title. And she's saying, oh, I make less. So she sued because even after her raise, her $25,000 raise, think of the hubris of these people. They're giving these a 23% increase in her salary, and she isn't happy. This is why you cannot negotiate with these people, okay? You cannot negotiate with terrorists, and you cannot negotiate with the woke. Just put that out there. Industrious Bear says, oh no, I got that one. Alfaria says, how badly does this hurt Disney in conjunction with what was revealed in your last stream, death by 1,000 cuts situation? Here's the thing, people. How can Biden and the Democrats, everyone's counting on Biden and the feds to defend Disney. Why would they defend Disney when there's a gender pay lawsuit? Aren't Democrats supposed to support gender pay, right? Isn't this supposed to be a liberal issue? Why, oh why, would they support Disney when they're being sued by 9,000 women? Is that a good look for Democrats to support big corporations against strong women? No, they should support the strong women. That's a Democratic Party platform. So why would all these agencies go, bend over backwards to defend them? And by the way, they'd have to pull all the stops and all the corruption at this point to stop from prosecution of the IRS, the SEC, and the DOJ. There's have to be massive corruption for that to happen. Why would they do that? Why would they hold back? There's no reason why they should hold back. And every reason why they should be under investigation. And I'm actually, by the way, I'm not defending Disney here, but what I'm doing is I'm explaining the law. I disagree with the California law, okay? I think the California law is ridiculous. However, because this law has been enforced against other companies, I am all for these women winning against Disney, and I believe they should win against Disney and at least get a settlement. At least get a settlement. So this is something where these women are at a minimum getting a settlement. And my prediction would be that that's the best thing for Disney to do to keep the PR on this down. If Disney is smart, they settle this lawsuit. They take this lawsuit and settle it. Okay. I love this. Okay, let's read her performance review, guys. This is her performance review. This is freaking hilarious. So look at this. She always received positive comments in her performance evaluation, being graded as right on track or moving along. Some of the glowing comments they made over the years include, she understands the music labels business very well, and she has done a good job in implementing changes and managing their support for the forecast. She has done an excellent job of working with the music publishing site and the team to design a more simplified model. This is to date one of our most successful projects to go live. LaRonda is good at building a good relationship with our main user from Pixar. LaRonda will work extremely long hours, will never complain we have a deadline. LaRonda has contributed immensely to the team in 2011. LaRonda performed very high this year. She exceeded my expectations on several occasions. She is a team player and will work long hours when required and is extremely focused on improvements. She is calm under pressure and is assertive when required, and she partners well. I would like her to be promoted to project manager this year, as I believe she is performing at that level. Well, I think she was promoted, so she is at that level. So this is a really old review. So this is from the beginning of her career, right? So note they're using stuff from 2011. This lawsuit is in 2019, right? Note that. That's very, very critical. So they're not talking about how LaRonda was acting in 2019. They're talking about 2011, 8 years later. People change over time at a job. LaRonda had a successful year and transitioned extremely well into her role as project manager. She is detail-oriented, questions everything, has a process, is methodical. She's earned the respect of the business community and has a strong reputation with the IT team. She's shown herself to be a very good presenter. She's presented at several critical meetings and has shown tremendous poise and professionalism. In 2015, she grew with a significant engagement. She has built over the last 2 years and maintained a partnership with the music royalties and accounting team. And Rhonda starts with yes, and her can-do attitude to take on challenging work is infectious with a larger team. She is transparent and willing to confront difficult issues. So once again, I will say, guys, if these are not true statements, if you are not saying something that is true about somebody, don't say it on a performance review, because they can ultimately use it against you in the future. So if they're just average, being like, they're doing a good job, they're doing all right, but they can improve here, here, and here. So make sure you're adding areas for improvement, so you make it clear you're not just giving glowing advice with no areas for improvement. Let me read the super chat. Is This Live says, how many ongoing lawsuits is Disney involved in now? I have lost count. That's a shit ton of billable hours. The Iger sanctioned deed. At this point, there are no less than 10 major lawsuits. I'm having to think right now. There are at least 10 major lawsuits against Disney. There are, I know, minor lawsuits or slip and falls. There's other stuff. I'm actually counting as part of this some of the water park lawsuits for the extreme damage in the lawsuits over the water park. There's about 10 major big headliner lawsuits against Disney. So the count is getting up there, guys. And that's why I'm covering this. That's why I keep Disney as my main topic, because if you guys want all of the Disney lawsuits, you just have to follow my channel. And I'm going to continue to cover them because there's so damn many. There's so many Disney lawsuits. It's hard to keep track of. And all the pixie dusters, just keep saying everything is right with the world. Like, it all is right with the world. Nothing's going to happen. So, okay, here we go. They're arguing that that Disney underpays other women. Okay, so that other women are underpaid by Disney. So they're saying that she received an adjustment, but Karen is the copyright admin administrator. Whenever you're an admin administrator, that's pretty much HR. She's pretty much HR. So she was, I guess they think she was passed over for a promotion for a man. A man took the promotion. And because a man got the promotion, and because they believe he is making more, even though they're performing the same job, they can sue over that. So because Karen didn't get a promotion, Karen is mad and complaining to the manager in the form of a lawsuit. She has no actual information here. Note that with Karen, there's no actual information, not even statistics. At least with LaRonda, she gave statistics. Now, her statistics are probably bunk if you really got into them, but Karen didn't even give that. But that's good enough for California law. That's good enough for that. So they're saying that because Disney centralizes these practices, because they train them through a central process, it creates a male-dominated culture. Look at this right here, guys. And they say because the board of directors is men, that shows discriminate. Look at this. Because the board is men, right? Never mind that, just most CEOs are men, because most women don't have time to work the insane hours of CEOs, and most of the board of directors are CEOs or former CEOs or former C-suite individuals, which have to work insane hours. Don't mention that. Nobody ever mentions that when they talk about CEOs. It's like, hey guys, guess what a CEO has to do? Work hard, work long hours, and probably not have a great family life. They probably have a shitty family life. Yeah, a lot of women don't want that. Now, some women are okay with that. That's fine. Some women are happy just working and their career is their life. That's fine. There are those people. I've met those women, right? And good on them. Great for them. Some men want a family life and don't want to work, right? But it tends to be the general trend in society. If you go poll an entire gender, right, you will find that men tend to want to work more and women want to concentrate on family more. That's just a gendered preference. I know it's so controversial nowadays, but that's just the way it is. But of course, you can now use these facts in an actual lawsuit. Henry K says, but I thought Disney supported women. So did I. Disney is not supporting these strong women. So they're saying that, look, Disney's practices lack transparency, quality standards, controls, appropriate HR review, and opportunities for redress and challenge. As a result, women are assigned, evaluated, compensated, deployed, and promoted within a system that does not equitably, here it is, guys, equitably manage or reward. It is no longer equality, it is equity. Equity. Understand in these lawsuits, equity is always going to be the keystone word. What they're saying here, a meaningful system of accountability includes transparency and opportunities and rewards. What? What do these mean? What do these words even mean? They use a lot of words in here. You know, it's like a lot of word salad, but a lot of these words don't actually mean very much. Let's get into the actual allegations, like the actual counts here with the class action. Okay, so they're seeking to remedy Disney's discriminatory employment practices so that class members will no longer be paid less than their male counterparts doing the same work. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, so they're trying to certify the class. They want injunctive relief to stop them from discriminating. Okay, they think it violates the California Equal Pay Act because they are attempting to cause or contributed to the continuation of wage rate discrimination based on sex, because they intentionally, knowingly, and deliberately, well, I don't see any proof of this, right? But California allows that proof through disparate impact, but I don't see any real proof of any intentional or knowing discrimination if we're evaluating it fairly. But because they allow this, and California has allowed this for other businesses, yes, of course, these strong women are allowed to take this suit to the bank, but and prove that they are paid less than their male counterparts, right? And therefore, they're suing them for their losses there. They're also suing for them under the unfair competition lawsuit because they say they are not equally paying, right? And therefore, that constitutes an unlawful and unfair activity under the business and professional codes. They're suing under that. And they're asking for relief for the principal plaintiffs and all the members of the class. So there you have it, guys. There you have it. The strong women are suing. They're saying there is a statistical difference. And yeah. And we're going to see this at trial. We're going to see this at trial in October. So there will be some Disney responses. There will be some Disney filings. I'm going to stay on top of this one. But this is absolutely, once again, proof that Disney is completely hypocritical. They will say one thing, right, on one side, and they will do an absolute other thing. Much like they would go out there and they will go out there and say, okay, we support union workers, but then they'll screw over their union workers. And I want to send somebody DM me real quick. I want to bring this up. Yeah. And I want to bring this up too. Someone brought me in, a good friend of mine. I'm going to say a good friend of mine, someone who I work with brought this up. And they have a daughter, right? And they said their daughter worked 60 hours and her boyfriend worked 20. And hey, that's not fair that they get paid the same. And I want to say there are very legitimate women workers. Hell, there are women workers that work harder than me. I've worked at companies and I've been like, this woman works harder than me. I will say this. I've had women coworkers. I've had secretaries, workers that work harder than me, and they deserve every cent. I am not just for looking at this based on gender. I think we should throw gender in the garbage can, guys. I think we should look at how hard are people working, period. Look at the hours and how hard they work. Forget about gender. Forget about Z, zer, he, she, whatever. If you are working hard, you deserve to be compensated fairly, period. I don't give a shit if you're a woman or man, whatever you are, you're working hard, you should be paid hard for it. And I know there are women that work hard out there, guys. So don't get it twisted, right? Do not get it twisted that I'm saying that. There absolutely are folks that do work hard out there. And I know them. And a lot of you ladies are in the chat that are hard workers. But people can say, look, If I look at a lawsuit and the lawsuit is not looking at objective performance criteria, I'm suspect of the fact when I'm looking at the lawsuit itself, I'm suspect when you don't include actual job performance. What did you do for that job, or how many hours did you work at that job compared to your male counterpart? If you're just saying, okay, I'm a hard worker, I work harder than that person. Okay, how many hours did you work per week? And when you actually look at it, a lot of the pay gap studies will show, a lot of them will show that, oh yeah, the dude worked 60 and the chick worked 55. The ones that are suing. That's not saying that that's the way it always works out, but oftentimes that's the way, and that's the way it results. So merit before gender. I'm just for look. Let's just not talk. Let's move. Let's go into a post-gender world where we're looking at merit and hard work and overtime and hours, right? So yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely definitely an issue that needs to be corrected whenever merit is not being followed through on. Is This Live? Give 10 Legal Mindset memberships. So thank you so much. Is This Live? Appreciate that. Appreciate all the members of the BLM. Guys, I got to have a special one for you guys out here to cover you guys on members. So I think we got to have a members only stream. We have so many members. We're going to have to do a members only stream soon. So members only stream is going to be coming up. We're going to do that. It's probably going to be an AMA for sure. Ann Ivy said, I thought for ages that most CEOs are men and most women are too sensible to work an insane amount of hours required to get the job. And that's exactly right. You're right. And you're correct, right? You're 100% correct. Look, if you have a family, you should not want to work those hours. And most of the men that work those jobs, they're either single or they have horrible family lives. And actually, I know some people that are watching that I used to work with at a certain company. I know at least one or two are watching right now because they watch my channel pretty regularly. And I remember stories of one of my former CEOs and like some of the shenanigans they got into. And the reason why they get into these shenanigans is because they have a shitty family life. They have a shitty personal life. They don't have a lot of free time because that's just not the lifestyle they can live. It's not the lifestyle they can live. Jesco says, HR is an issue. They make sure you say you are super at before they work on, because everyone is so sensitive. It took me 6 months to fire someone. Crazy as hell. Yeah, Jessica, you should just be able to fire somebody when they're not good. Like, look, if they're not performing, once again, don't care gender, race, whatever. If they're not performing, just being like, hey, listen, I've told you like 10 times that you need to show up to work on time, or you need to get your work done, or you need to submit for deadlines. This is your final warning. And we're done. We're done after this. But what happens in the workplace is people will sue you, or they will get ready to sue you based on whatever issue they perceive, because they think they're in trouble, or they think they're sensitive to an issue. So you say something and they're like, well, they're only saying that because I'm purple, or I'm green, or I'm declare myself as the gender of the Cheshire cat, right? They'll come up with some excuse. Oh, they're only saying this for this reason. It's disgusting. It's horrible. And, that's got to change. And America's got to change. We've got to get this crap out of our system. We've got to say, no, we need to do business, right? You work hard, you get paid hard, right? And that's equal. That's equal. When you work hard, you get paid hard. It's pretty simple. Work hard, get paid, right? Don't work hard, don't get paid. I don't see what's so hard about that concept. What is so problematic about that? People say, oh, it's because you're a white man, and working hard is a white colonial thing that they've imposed on everybody else through our toxic Protestantism, even though I'm not really actively Protestant. But okay, sure. Missing O-Town. Shout out to O-Town. And O-Town meaning Orlando. I do miss Orlando. Guys, I really do miss my time in Orlando. I really loved my time in Orlando. I do miss it very much. Although I love being in Thailand, I love being in Asia. I'm going to head to see my brothers, going to head over to Tokyo soon. I love being able to fly to these crazy different countries in like a couple hours. But I do miss Florida. I miss Orlando. I miss Miami too. And I love all my Floridians. You're rocking, bro. Keep it going. I'm not going to stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Henry K says, Minnie put Mickey in his place. You know it, baby. It's That's why I had Minnie on the thumbnail there. I hope you guys like that touch. M in the chat for Minnie. Not Mickey, just Minnie. We're only standing the strong woman characters today. Scorpion Red Dragon says managers are exempt from OT, but can earn bonuses and perks based on performance. Sometimes higher pay reflects market value of a specific manager. Yes, absolutely. 100%. And you know, that's a thing. That's a thing. Yeah. Hugh Thomas says National and maybe Institute of Health, Instate of Health. Recent studies conclude that men on average have higher intelligence and win by 3 to 5 IQ points. I mean, look, I know people are going to get mad about this. So I'm going to say this. I know women that are far smarter than me. Okay. I have multiple women that can just put me in my, first of all, I can barely do math. Okay. I can barely do math. I have ex-girlfriends that are, for example, an ex-girlfriend that's an engineer. She's way smarter than I am, far smarter than I am, and in pure IQ, test, and intellect. But there's other things that I am better at, right? And there's other things that fall more along gender lines. But IQ, yes, men tend to have a little bit more IQ points, but we might have less social acuity, right? And that's the comparative strength of genders. And one is not better than the other, right? Social acuity is important. So is intellectual acuity. So is, it's not even intellectual. It's like traditional intellectual acuity, right? That's important, but so is social acuity. So there's different areas they can excel in. We just need to go back into playing to people's strength and acknowledging that, hey, people have different strengths and some people are really good at certain things and we should let them be good at them and pay them for their merit. Pay them for the merit of their job. But if somebody's smart, let them do the job. I don't care about that. I'm all for equality of opportunity. If there's a very, very smart woman who's a brilliant genius, let them do the job. Let them do the job. But they should objectively be a genius and a hard worker and a person who does that. They should be a person who's willing to do the work that's necessary. As long as they're willing to do the work, they can make it. It's like the military. We should have the same standard in the military. There should not be gendered standards in the military. You either can serve or you can't. There's no lowering the bar. Unfortunately, that's where we're at today. So Andrew would be wild to party with in Tokyo. Yeah, it gets pretty wild when I'm partying in Tokyo. I'm not gonna lie. I have a lot of fun in Tokyo. I may or may not be going out in Shinjuku, Shibuya. I forget, but either Shinjuku or Shibuya. I'll be going out when I'm there for sure, at least a little bit. I love Tokyo. It's a great city. It's almost like a second home to me. It feels very, very much comfortable. And I'm loving the exchange rate right now. It is fantastic. One more Rumble rant from Occupant42. Thank you so much, Occupant. You're a freaking Chad today. It says, can Disney sue their own HR employees for failing to bring this into attention? Not really, because the HR employees would just sue them back. It's not worth it. I mean, yes, you could do it. Technically, you might be able to fire them. So you could fire HR for this, Occupant. But I don't think it's worth it. I mean, what you do is you just kind of sideline them, put them in a corner, and then eventually fire them, but not like a retaliatory sense, like you screwed up on this and therefore we're firing you, because they would just end up suing you over it. So yeah, it's better to just push them to the side. But of course, Disney doesn't do that. They keep incompetent people around. All right, guys. So that's what we got today. We're an hour and 13 minutes in. Please smash that like button. I will be back tomorrow talking more on the Disney crimes. We're going to be doing more of more going over different pieces of evidence against what I said a year ago or 2 years ago. So it's going to be a I was right episode. We're going to do that tomorrow and run that on this channel. I am absolutely excited about that. Thank you guys for joining me. You guys are freaking awesome. And I will catch you all later. Peace.